It started like an urban legend. A German shepherd, gray coat, amber eyes, seen dropping teddy bears on porches across the neighborhood. Always at night, always the same kind of bear, stuffed, worn, and stained with something that looked an awful lot like blood. Before we begin this powerful tale of silence and sacrifice, tell me in the comments, what was your first dog's name and breed? You can help stories like this be heard, remembered, and shared. If this one touches your heart, like the video, and don't forget to follow for more true feeling stories of healing, loyalty, and quiet courage. Sometimes, the strongest voices are the ones that never speak, and sometimes, they bark. Some thought it was a prank, others blamed a sick collector. No one expected what came next. Ivy didn't pay attention at first. At 15, she had enough to worry about: school, her part-time job at the diner, her mother's quiet grief that filled every room of their too-silent house. But mostly, she thought about Liam, her baby brother. He'd vanished 7 years ago, right before his second birthday. One moment asleep in his crib, the next, gone. No forced entry, no fingerprints, just an open window and a torn screen. And the bear, his favorite one, gone too. Ivy had almost convinced herself to forget, until the night she opened the front door and found it on the porch. A teddy bear, faded blue, torn on the left ear, a missing button eye, and in the center of its chest, a dried, reddish stain that made her stomach turn. At first she thought it was just some neighbor's joke, until she picked it up, turned it over, and saw it. 3 letters, clumsily stitched into the back of the bear's neck in pink thread. Leah, Liam's nickname, the one Ivy used when he was still learning to talk. She staggered back, heart racing. It couldn't be, it shouldn't be, but it was. His bear. She didn't tell her mom, didn't call the police, didn't even take a photo. She simply wrapped it in an old towel, placed it in a shoebox, and slid it beneath her bed. Then she waited. The next night, she sat by the window, watching, and just after midnight, he came. A German shepherd, limping slightly, fur flecked with mud, eyes glowing in the porch light. He stood at the end of the driveway, looked straight at her window, then turned and walked into the dark. The next morning, Ivy asked around. Nobody else on her street had seen him. Nobody else had gotten a bear. But over in Westburn Lane, 5 blocks away, a woman had posted a photo online. "This teddy bear showed up at my door last week. Creepy or sad? Anyone know whose it is?" Ivy zoomed in. Same shape, same blue fabric, different ear tier, no initials, but the stain, identical. She started mapping the sightings. The bears were always delivered between midnight and 3 a.m., always by the same dog, and always to homes near the woods that bordered the south edge of town. She checked the newspaper archives, found nothing official, but a post from 3 years ago caught her attention. German Shepherd keeps showing up near Maple Trail, carries something in its mouth, disappears into the woods. Anyone know who owns it? No one had answered. But the trail, that was just 2 blocks from her old house, the one where Liam vanished. That night, Ivy packed a flashlight, a snack, and a jacket. She waited by the back fence. At 12:17 a.m., she heard him. Paw steps, quiet, careful. She peeked around the corner. There he was, mouth empty, ears alert. He looked at her, not scared, not curious, like he already knew her. She stepped forward. He turned and trotted toward the woods. Ivy followed. The woods were darker than Ivy remembered. The flashlight in her hand barely pierced the fog, curling around the trees. Twigs cracked under her sneakers, and cold air clung to her skin like breath. But the dog, he moved like he belonged there, silent, sure. She followed him deeper into the forest, past old tree stumps and overgrown fences, until he stopped. They stood before a crumbling hunting shed. The roof sagged, vines twisted up the sides, the door hung crooked on rusted hinges, and beside the shed, in a perfect line, sat 4 stuffed animals, all bears, each one older than the last, each one stained in the center, each one positioned like they were waiting. Ivy knelt beside them. The third one had a torn seam at the neck. Inside something shimmered. She pulled it gently. A child's bracelet, beads spelling out Maddie, the name of another missing toddler. She'd seen it once on a flyer downtown. This wasn't a game. This wasn't just about Liam. She turned to the dog. You brought them here. He didn't move, just stood there, tail still, eyes watching her, not pleading, not sad, just present, like he needed her to see, to remember. Inside the shed, the smell of old smoke and rust filled her nose. A cracked photo frame sat on the workbench. It showed a boy, maybe 17, smiling beside a German shepherd. Same dog, only younger. His fur was cleaner, ears perked. The name scribbled on the back of the photo, Diesel and Caleb, 2013. She turned it over. Another note was carved into the wood beneath it. He always brought them home. Ivy froze. Diesel, the dog had a name, and maybe he once had a partner, a boy who trained him, maybe a brother, maybe something darker. She took the photo and the bracelet, slid them into her jacket. When she turned, Diesel was already walking back into the trees. She followed again. They passed more remnants, a small sneaker, a plastic ring, a child's mitten still dusted with dried mud. He wasn't collecting junk, he was keeping memories. They stopped at the edge of a dried-up creek. Diesel barked once, then he scratched at the dirt near a large crooked tree root. Ivy hesitated, then knelt. The soil was soft. She dug with her hands, and after a minute, she found it, a box. Metal, heavy. Inside, wrapped in plastic, newspaper clippings of missing children, a pocket knife, a photograph of her own house, taken from the street, and a keychain with a tiny blue bear charm. Her breath caught. That bear had been on Liam's crib mobile. Diesel sat beside her, not pressing, not pushing, just there. She whispered, "You were trying to bring us here all along, weren't you?" He blinked slowly. Ivy took the box and the picture, and this time when she stood, Diesel walked beside her. At home Ivy didn't sleep. She searched online. The name Caleb matched a runaway foster teen, reported missing 6 years ago. Same time the bears started showing up. He was never found, but the photo of Diesel matched the town's old canine training records. He had been a search dog, assigned to find missing children, but when Caleb vanished, Diesel stopped listening to orders. They called him unstable, released him to the streets. He never stopped searching. Ivy finally showed her mom the bear. Her mother sobbed, held it like a ghost. Then she made a call to the detective who'd once handled Liam's case. The box, the items, the timeline, everything reopened. And this time, they listened. A week later, police unearthed a hidden bunker beneath the old shed. Inside, evidence, DNA, belongings of at least 5 children, including Liam's baby blanket, and Caleb's journal, each page filled with names, with regrets, with descriptions of where he left the toys, trying to make someone, anyone listen. Diesel had carried the weight Caleb couldn't, one bear at a time. The investigation took weeks. Police confirmed it. Liam hadn't been taken by a stranger. He'd been caught in the crossfire of a foster home cover-up. Caleb, just 17, had tried to protect him, but something went wrong. There was no grave, no clear ending, only a broken boy, a lost toddler, and a dog who refused to forget. Diesel was given temporary shelter at the local K9 unit. They scanned his chip. expired, unreadable. But Ivy didn't care. He came back to her porch every night. No bear this time, just silence and presence. One morning, Ivy found a letter in the mailbox. No stamp, no name. Inside a single sentence, "He found everyone but me." It was written on the back of a daycare flyer from the year Liam vanished. She stared at the ink until it blurred. The press picked up the story. Search dog solves cold cases with teddy bears. Teen girl lost brother, and a silent hero. But none of that mattered, because the final bear still hadn't come, until 3 weeks later. Ivy woke at 2:14 a.m. Diesel was pacing outside. At his feet, a brand new bear. No stain, no tear, no missing eye, just clean, blue fabric, and a tag on its foot that read, "Liam, safe now." She broke down, right there on the porch. Diesel sat beside her, unmoving. She hugged him, not because she needed comfort, but because he did. For 7 years he'd carried loss between his teeth. Now he could let go. The next day Diesel was officially adopted by Ivy, not as a pet, as a partner. The sheriff called it poetic justice. Ivy just called it home. She started a project in her brother's name, Project Bear Track, a foundation using scent-trained dogs to track missing children, with trauma-linked items like toys and clothes. Diesel became its symbol. His photo, stoic, proud, with a soft bear at his paws, was printed on posters across the state. The caption read, "He remembered what we forgot." Some nights, Ivy still places the original bear on the porch, not to invite ghosts, but to honor the one who never stopped carrying them.